everyone, it's Erica O'Neill with Bastrop Guide, and I'm here with Cheryl from Bastrop Montessori. Cheryl, thank you. Talk to us more about the school and about the programs that you offer here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share all of this with you all. I love my work. I love my work. You know, Bastrop Montessori started in September of 2019, just before COVID hit.
Okay.
So within 5 months, you know, the schools, the governor had closed all the schools,
Right.
and, you know, we were all trying to figure out what to do about the pandemic. So I moved the school into my home for 2 years while we kind of got our feet back on the ground from the pandemic, and then moved into this really great location in, I guess it's been about 3 years ago. And so Bastrop Montessori is now located in this beautiful building. We have 3.5 acres. We have a pond. We're surrounded by woods and wildlife and easy access to the highway. So it's just a great location for us. And we've grown so much since we got here. When we left my house, there were 12 children.
Oh, really?
At this point, we have 54 children.
Oh, wow.
And we're
Very
licensed for
nice.
up to 68, and we'll be growing up to 120 within the next couple of years. So right now we have children ranging in age from 18 months old, so toddlers, through the pre-K and kindergarten years, and then up into elementary. Our highest grade right now is 3rd grade, and then we'll be adding a grade every year up through middle school.
Oh, wow.
So it'll take us a few
Nice.
years to get there, but we've got lots of room to do it in.
Good. What separates Bastrop Montessori from a public school?
So Montessori, the Montessori method was designed by Maria Montessori in the late 1800s. She was a doctor and a scientist. She spent a lot of time observing children in their natural, you know, as they behaved in a natural way, and was really curious about how children learn, not how we teach them, but how they learn. So she spent a lot of time watching that, and like any good scientist, you know, running experiments. You know, what if I give them this? What if I take this away? What if I set the classroom up this way? What if I set it up that way? So after a lot of research, she really became clear that children learn by doing, not by being told. They don't learn by instruction, they learn by experimenting. And really, children are driven to learn. I think anybody with a small child especially knows that. Like they're mixing toothpaste with oatmeal, they're smearing it on the window, wonder how that is. You know, how much toilet paper can you flush down the toilet?
Yes.
They just want to know, and they are experimenters from a very early age. So Maria Montessori began devising classrooms and materials. All the materials here are very specialized and designed to teach certain specific concepts in a very hands-on way. So the kids aren't given worksheets and papers and paper tests and textbooks, though they have access to those things as they get older, but they're given these really concrete materials that teach certain specific concepts. So math and reading and writing, and as well as world cultures and geography and science. And so the Montessori method, the kind of one of the most obvious distinctions between Montessori school and a public school is that children are moving freely through a classroom. They're not sitting at desks. If you look around this classroom or any of our other classrooms, you won't see a teacher's desk, and you will not see a bunch of children's chairs and desks facing a teacher.
Right, okay.
You'll see these open classrooms with very specific materials on the shelves. So in a Montessori classroom, whether that's a 2-year-old child or a 10-year-old child, they walk into their classroom, they put their things away, they start choosing work. They may choose art, this one may choose art, this one may choose science, this one may choose language arts, this one may, you know, go sit down and read a book. And so the teacher, or as we call them, the guides, are observing the kids in a very specific way to see what kinds of works they're interested in, what comes easy for them, what's challenging for them. Do they always go to art? Well, we do really want them to learn to read and do math. We really do. So yes, absolutely, do some art. And then when you finish that beautiful picture, put your art things away and come over here. Let me give you a lesson on reading, the beginning sounds of reading. And the guides are also trained to notice, well, does this person shy away from that? They don't want to do it, Well, is that because they really are just interested in art, or is it because they're afraid? Maybe they're afraid they don't know how to do it, they can't do it right, they won't do it well, it's confusing for them, or maybe it's just the way it's being presented. And so the teacher or guide has all this training to help, usually her, but not only, could be a man teacher, to help the kids come at these important subjects from a lot of different angles. So if one material or approach doesn't work, she'll try another one.
Right, because all kids learn so differently.
They all learn differently.
We're all individuals and we all learn very differently.
We are, and the public school system, though it has, many things going for it, it's very homogenous. Everybody has to do the same thing at the same time. You have to finish at the same time. You have to reach that grade at the same time so that you can pass into the next class. And if you don't pass, there's the built-in stigma that is bad news.
Yes.
So another feature of a Montessori classroom is that it spans several years. So in the elementary program, for instance, kids are in here from age 6 to 9.
Okay.
3 years in the same classroom with the same peers, unless people move around, and the same teacher. So they have lots of time to learn all of these things. If they come kind of a little bit later to, algebra, that's okay. We know they're going to get there. We know the teacher is going to guide them there and help them through whatever, challenges there may be. But they've got 3 years to get that.
Right, yeah.
And they're especially once they hit the elementary years, especially once they hit 3rd grade, which is when the public schools start testing kids, there's all that testing anxiety.
And it's very stressful.
It's very stressful
for kids. Yes.
And it kills your natural love of learning.
Right,
which kids were born with. And if we don't mess it up, they'll keep on. Right?
Yes.
So we do not test. We do not test. And we want to make sure that they're mastering concepts. Because the teacher to student ratio is so low, like 1 to 6, 1 to 8, 1 to 12 at the most. The kids are each getting a lot of individualized attention and working one-on-one with their teacher as often as is necessary and they want to. And so the teacher, again, based on her training, she's trained to recognize mastery.
Okay.
So if I'm sitting, for instance, with a 8-year-old and he's reading a chapter book and he can tell me the chapter that he just read and tell me what happened.
Right.
I do not need to put that kid in front of a test to prove to me that he can read and understand content. He just did it. So I can record that and then we can move on. The same thing with algebra or fractions or dynamic addition. If I can sit with a child and see that they can do it, I don't need to test them to prove to me that they can do it.
That makes sense.
They demonstrated it. So they don't have these arbitrary tests to prove anything. They can just roll happily along through their learning process, and it's their own sense of accomplishment.
Right.
That it's so exciting. It is so exciting to hear across the room some child say, "I did it!"
Yeah.
And that's all the test we need.
Right. What does like a typical day look like here?
School opens at 8, and then the learning period is the content portion of the day is over by 3, and then we have an after-school program that goes until 5:30.
Okay.
So when the children are, and then we want the kids here by 8:45, but school opens at 8. So they come in, parents drop them off at the door. We're really working hard with everything we do to foster independence.
Okay.
So even the teeny tinies, even the 18-month-olds, they come lugging in their tote bags, which they kind of have to drag because they're heavy, you know. They drag in their tote bag, they unpack the whole thing. There's no,
Nice.
once the
Okay,
teacher
that's
has
really good.
helped them learn how to do that, the teacher doesn't ever help them again. So
They're learning independence.
They are.
You know.
So they put all their things away, whether they're 18 months old or 9 years old or whatever. They put all their personal things away. We've really taught them how to stay calm and behave in a building. So it's a really calm atmosphere most of the time.
Nice.
So they come in quietly, put their things away. And then they come in and they choose their work.
Okay.
So they go directly into an uninterrupted work period. So for the elementary children, that's 3 hours. It's a 3-hour long period of time that's not interrupted by recess or switching classes or switching teachers. And that allows, whether the kids are 18 months old or 9 years old, whatever, that long uninterrupted work period allows them to really kind of immerse themselves in what they are exploring.
Talk to us a little bit about some of the subjects that you cover throughout the day.
So it varies depending on the classrooms. You know, we have the 18 to 36 month classroom, the 3 to 6 classroom, and then the 6 to 9. So for all the classrooms, basic respect for, you know, for people and differences in the environment, so they learn how to behave, you know, and that's a really big part of our curriculum. Grace and courtesy is a really big part of our curriculum. Please and thank you, but also just kind of the more genuine, like how to take care of each other and be not just tolerant, but accepting and responsible for taking care of the environment and things. So grace and courtesy. And then there is also a part of the curriculum is what we call practical life, which could mean, you know, at the toddler level, this is how to put their own things away, how to set their place at the table. The 18-month-olds are now they set their place at the table with dishes. They put all their food on their dishes, and then they go wash their dishes.
Nice.
They don't do a good job, but they do it. You know, they're learning to so practical life. And, you know, and as you advance up through the classrooms, that'll include things like sewing, anything that we do, you know, tying, lacing,
Tying your shoes,
zipping.
buttons,
Okay.
And then again, as you get on up into the elementary years, that's going to include cooking. So they're getting ready to set up a kitchen in their classroom. They'll start learning some cooking.
Wow.
They'll do gardening. Once the garden is ready to harvest, then they'll learn harvesting, and maybe if we're lucky and have time, some like putting food by. So what happens in the practical life aspect of the curriculum just kind of, it advances, you know, the older they
So
get,
it
the
just
more they
develops as they grow. Okay.
yeah, so then you can imagine at high school level, like this is going to be balancing a checkbook, filling out a W-4. So our goal is, you know, their independence. And then there's art and music. We have a lot of outside play, which is another big distinction from the public school system as it is now. You know, the kids have an hour to 2 hours all together outside every day, and it's free play. So that's really important to their social emotional growth and development. Right. You know, you can't learn how to resolve conflicts unless you have conflicts. And so the playground is where the time is very unstructured, is where they can kind of get on each other's nerves, you know, and have strong differences of opinion. And we're not just out there, you know, watching the playground. We're watching for what's happening on the playground. And the social emotional learning is a huge part of our curriculum. And so when kids, whether they're 18 months old or 10 years old, when they have a conflict, they don't just wake up one morning knowing how to solve conflicts respectfully. You have to help them. You have to help give them language. You have to model listening and responding. You have to model, how to speak in a way that doesn't blame someone else. So we're out there trying to help them resolve conflicts, and they get really good at it really quick. And then, of course, there are also all the academic subjects. So at the toddler class level, this is all sorting and stacking and matching. When they get up into the 3 through 6 classroom, they're learning phonics. They start with phonics and the sounds that letters make and the shapes that letters are. By the time they leave at the end of their kindergarten year, they're reading. They're introduced to numbers and number concepts. By the time they leave at 6 years old, they're doing addition with carrying up into the thousands. They are learning, geography and world cultures. So there are a lot of maps and map puzzles and labeling. They're getting science. So all the standard academic subjects, but it's just in a very different way. There are no textbooks. It's all materials and exploration and a lot of games. The older they get, the more they want to work together. When they're young, they really just want to work near someone, but not with them.
Perfect. Well, we're going to take a tour of the school.
When I was saying that all the things on the shelves are very thoughtfully designed, one of the ways in which they're designed is how they're set up on the shelf. So this is math materials, and it's organized easiest to hardest, starting from left to right, top to bottom, the same way we read. So that, and that's the way it is with all the materials, so that even though the children are working on numbers, they're still getting this pre-reading training, top to bottom, left to right, easiest to hardest.
Okay.
So when they start, this is a sandpaper number, and the children aren't learning to write it, they're just learning to make the shape. This is sandpaper so they can feel it, and they just trace it with their finger. And so they're just training their muscle memory to do a 0, and they learn the name and the 0. And then it just goes through all these different really great math concepts. And then by the time they leave the classroom at, say, 6 years old, they're doing what we call dynamic addition. So they're doing place value addition up into the thousands with all of these materials. So it's left to right, top to bottom.
Okay, very nice.
And in the meantime, the younger ones, even if they're 3 years old and just learning their sandpaper numbers, they're surrounded by kids who are doing place value up into the thousands. And so they're watching and getting kind of a pre-lesson on that.
Okay, all right.
Let me take you to the toddler classroom.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're now coming into the toddler classroom, 18 months through 3 years old. And so the shelves in this room are all set up for the kids' independence. They're all able to choose their own work. They either take it to a table, or if they want to work on the floor, they can get out a little work mat. And the work mat helps to indicate to the other kids, this is somebody's work, don't touch it. So they're all taught to respect each other's work and not to interrupt it. So they just choose their work, do it for as long as they want to, put it away, choose the next thing.
Yeah, they're very focused.
They're very focused.
In what they're doing.
And very peaceful. These kids'
yeah.
potty area over there, so we help children and parents get the children out of diapers and into underwear, and they all know how to manage that whole part by themselves and washing their hands. All the classrooms have these cleaning stations so that the kids can clean up after themselves. They clean their tables, sweep the floor, mop the floor.
Yeah, it's a shaded playground.
Yeah, so we have this playground and then this second playground out there, which is mostly kind of big field for running around, and then we have all the property all the way back there.
This is brand new. This just arrived, and we are in the process of getting electric and plumbing and everything here because we are going to be adding on.
Yeah, we'll add upper elementary next year,
Okay, very nice.
which will be 4th through 6th grade.
Very
So,
good.
yeah.
Okay.
So I love my work.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And if they have any questions, how can they reach out to you guys? Do you have a website? Talk to us about all of that.
www.bastropmontessori.com. We have a Facebook page, we have Instagram and Twitter and all of these things. And if you want to email us, it's info@bastropmontessori.com. And you can also, through the website, you can schedule a tour of the school and we'll meet with you and walk you around and answer whatever questions you may have. And then we're also getting ready to launch some parent workshops that will be open to the public.
Oh, very nice. Okay, and what do those workshops look like?
The first one is going to be on positive discipline, which is basically positive communication with your children, how to get them what you need them to do, do what they need to do without, fighting about it.
Thanks for
My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay. Bastrop Guide for locals and tourists. Follow us for more.